Evolve, a game that was originally released in February of 2015 and remembered by most for having one of the most failed releases for any game in the last few years. Most of us remember Evolve as some sort of hype train that a lot of people jumped behind and said this is going to be an amazing game and this is going to change asymmetrical PvP in games for the future. The months following the release of Evolve, however, we all realized that that inevitably was to be untrue. The reason for this was not because the game was not good or because the game was not well made, but the marketing team and whoever decided that they were going to put a $60 price tag on a game that didn't even give you the full content when you paid the full price for the game, you then had to go and spend more money to unlock hunters and even more money to unlock monsters. Understandably, you then had to spend more money to unlock skins, as cosmetic DLC in most games is not an anomaly nowadays. But paying a full price tag for a game and then also having to pay additional money for content that you didn't get with paying the full price for the game was seen by most to be completely absurd and disgusting, and it led to the cataclysmic decline in players. Not many people bought the game, and the peak players, according to Steam charts back when the game released in February, sat only at 27,000 players following the immediate release of the game. Now, some of you might think 27,000 people isn't exactly a bad number, but trust me, 27,000 people following a game that was on the top stage of E3 and that was massively hyped up to be one of the biggest games of the year, 27,000 people, trust me, is not a good number. If you'd like something to immediately compare that to, the peak players of No Man's Sky following the release of the game was 212,000. Now, price points aside, because this isn't entirely the most important part of the video, we all understand that 1.5 years ago, Evolve was a game that released and immediately flopped. But I hear people asking now, what is Evolve Stage 2? Now, Evolve Stage 2 is Evolve taking the base game, understanding that 1.5 years ago, to put it bluntly, they fucked up, and saying, hey, we're willing to try and fix our mistakes and release the game as free. Now, this isn't all that they have done. They've not only released the game for free, they've also dropped all DLC paywalls, and they've dropped all paywalls on every single one of their hunters and their monsters, and they've also dropped the paywall on all skins as well. From now on, everything in the game can be earned by just playing the game over and over again in its one format, which is Hunt. So we're here asking the question, does Evolve Stage 2 deserve a second chance? Now, there's a few issues to be addressed here, because still a lot of people may be thinking, well, didn't people buy the base game? Didn't some people, surely a fraction of people that were involved or invested in the hype train, didn't a few people decide that they were going to spend not only the price tag for the base game, but also the money to unlock the hunters and also the monsters as well, which in total cost will have risen well over $80. What happens to those people? What do they get now that the game has gone completely free? Well, let me give you this as an answer. First and foremost, they get their game back. Now, what does this entirely mean? Well, let me just put some numbers out to you. Before Evolve Stage 2 launched, the average amount of people that concurrently were clocked playing the game each day, so the average amount of people at any one time you checked who were playing the game, sat at a mere less than 200 people each day. Some days it went over 200 if you were lucky, but nearly every single day the game sat at between 150 to 200 players. And this went on not only for the months up to the release of Stage 2, but this went on for just nearly the last 8 months of the game. So no matter how much money you've paid for the game wasn't keeping itself dynamic. The amount of people quitting the game compared to the amount of people actually buying into the full price game was absurdly high. Secondly, as a founder, the other thing that you got were exclusive founder skins that are still not available to people who are getting Evolve Stage 2 now for free. So it's almost like the game giving you a memento and a thank you for being one of the founders who originally got the game. Some may ask, is this enough? Could they have done more for the founders? And maybe it's another video that I'll do one day, because it's quite a large question to answer, but in essence, if they were to do anything for the founders that would change the way that the game is played and allow the founders to play the game in a different way compared to the people who are now getting the game for free, they would create the same problem that caused them to have such low numbers in the past, which was creating a disparity between people who paid money and people who did not. So if you are a founder, I do urge you to try to understand that the only way that they can bring new people in and also keep people in the game is to keep everything free. Or at the very least, make it so that everything has the opportunity to be unlocked for free. Maybe you can pay to speed up the process in some way, and maybe that should be open to founders. But things do need to be able to be unlocked for free. So to jump back to the original question, as of right now, Evolve Stage 2 is in beta. It hasn't fully released its Stage 2 project as something that is entirely out there yet. They have still put out that they are working consistently on the game, bringing out new characters, bringing out new map modes, and potentially even bringing out new monsters. Not only this, but weekly they are consistently adding new updates, with doing fine-tuning for balancing and making so the win rate between monsters and hunters draws ever closer to 50% for each side. When Evolve Stage 2 kicked off its beta program, on the very first day of its launch, it managed to amass over 51,000 people concurrently playing the game, which smashed its original concurrent highest out of the water completely. But this unfortunately comes with some bad news and also some good news. The good news is that there are more people now obviously playing the game. Back when I streamed this game on my channel for around about 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks consistently, the average amount of people playing the game was anywhere between 8 and 10,000 players. And this was the average amount of people concurrently playing the game, not just the amount of people that loaded up the game for the day. But here's where the bad news comes in. That number hasn't stopped consistently dropping every single day since around about July 10th, when the game went into its beta Stage 2 program. Every single day, without failure, the game has been dropping a few hundred players by the day, and it has now gone down to a peak amount of players of around about 4,500, and I believe that this will continue to drop. Now, during my time streaming Evolve, some of you may know that I did stream this game for 3.5 weeks, as I previously mentioned in the video, but I got to see what the devs were doing quite closely, and I got to monitor on what kind of changes they were making to the game, and I was able to observe what changes were made to the gameplay and how that affected the player count. So how many people came in and decided to come and play the game again every time there was a new update. And unfortunate to say, it didn't seem like any update that they did brought a significant amount of players back. And there are reasons for this, of which I will go into. Now, Evolve has ran into the problem of where it has gone into a completely free Stage 2 program. Now, you can't actually buy anything in the game at all. There isn't even the option to buy things. So even if you wanted to throw money at the development, there is physically no way to do that. There is no store, there is nothing at all. The only thing that you can do is play the game for free and earn more keys. So essentially, Turtle Rock Studios are running on savings as far as I can gather. I won't be able to vouch for it, but all I can see is that their cash flow is probably quite low at the moment. And this has brought problems to the table, which are very evident to anyone who wanted to observe them. The game currently suffers from a chronic amount of rehashing. And by this, I mean they're taking old voice lines, they're taking old characters, they're taking old map designs, and all that they are doing is adding or changing those things and releasing them as new content. Now, granted, this new content is not stuff that you have to pay for. It is all completely free, so nobody has the right to complain. But what I will say is that it isn't something that is getting people excited to play the game. For example, there were 4 new hunters that were released recently within the last month. The first of which was Electro Griffin. An Electro Griffin is a rehash of an original character called Griffin. Electro Griffin looks slightly different, and he has different abilities to Griffin, but it recycles the same use of the voice lines and a very similar look to the character. This means that the company have been able to cut corners and save money in hiring new voice actors, and also save money in getting those new voice lines into when a character does a certain action. The 3 other characters that have been released that have been rehashed content have been Quantum Kyra, Renegade Abe, and released brand new today, Paladin Parnell. Alongside this, they've also released 2 brand new map modes, which is Cataclysm, released on the map Orbital Drill, and Overpowered, released on the map Weather Control. It seems that since the game has got into stage 2, the only real new thing that the game has added is something called the Deepest Dark, where players go into co-op and hunt the Gorgon Queen together. Now, these are all the updates that Turtle Rock has done since the game has gone into stage 2. We've been offered 4 new hunters, and we've also been offered 2 new map modes. Now, as mentioned before, not entirely new, but rehashed old content. So to answer the premise here, based off of all of the updates that the devs have done since the game has gone into its stage 2 beta, has Evolve done enough to win itself over on a second chance? And I think yes, it has. But I also think that it does need to change the way that it primarily does things if it's going to have a shelf life. First and foremost, the rehashing of old content has to stop. Players like myself and people who have come in expecting stage 2 to bring the game back to life and revitalize a gameplay experience where new content is coming out, where people can get consistently excited that the game is going to dynamically change in some way, is not going to happen whilst old content is being reformed and rehashed into something that is being not sold, but given to the player base as something new, when it really isn't new enough to warrant any form of excitement. The game needs to bring out a brand new monster. It needs to bring out a brand new game mode. But more importantly, and more importantly than ever, it needs to bring out some form of progression. Progression is what keeps people playing these kinds of games. It's what keeps people like me logging back in every day and saying, why am I playing this game again? Because I enjoy it, because I can climb further on the ranking system, because I want to be able to earn more keys to unlock more things. Some form of decent progression, and the devs need to stop actively killing progression for people who are now playing the game. And by killing progression, I mean on the weekend of the 20th and the 21st of August, the developers decided that it would be a very good idea to launch a weekend where every single player in the game could earn 10 times the experience, so their characters and their monsters leveled quicker, and also 10 times the amount of keys, which is the currency that the game uses to unlock new content. At the time, players and devs probably thought that this was good, as they managed to double the amount of people that were previously playing the game before that weekend, and the people who actually played the game on the weekend were obviously able to unlock new skins and unlock more keys, and also unlock new characters with the keys that they were earning during gameplay. But this is one thing that not many people realized. By giving every single player in the game for a weekend 10 times the normal amount of experience and keys that you would earn, for those players, you have killed their form of progression. And it is exactly why, immediately following the 10 times experience and 10 times keys weekend, the players dropped to well below the number that were there before the weekend. To be exact, a whole 2,000 concurrent players less than before the weekend. Now, you may think, okay, well, there's still a ranked mode, right? They can still take everything that they have earned and take that into a ranked mode session where they can use the new things that they have unlocked to tangibly progress further in the system. They can climb a ladder, they can show they're better than people, they can use the competitiveness that the game offers to use the new things that they have unlocked in a meaningful way. Well, the short answer to that is no, they can't, because the developers have actually actively removed the ranking system. This means that players like myself, who have got everything unlocked in the game and now want to be able to take that and take it into a ranking system where I can play against people of my skill, and not only do that, but also show that I am better than people on the leaderboards, and using the leaderboards and a proper ranking system, maybe get scouted for a competitive team, and show my hard work in winning games and trying to actively be better at the game to other people. But without any form of progression, so any keys that players earn are now worthless, and also any levels that people could have got because now everyone is max level is also now worthless, and the removal of a ranking system, so nobody is moving up any form of ladder. Playing the game consistently over and over again is completely without point. You're not gaining levels, you're not earning any keys that can be used for anything, and you're not climbing up a leaderboard. So the only thing holding people playing the game is the experience itself, which is great and which is fine, but in a game of this nature, which sells itself on competitiveness and PvP, you need to reward the competitive nature of the game. You need to reward people who are playing the game over and over again and trying to actually get good. You need to reward them with a ranking system. So that would be another thing that I'd advise for the devs, is to bring back a ranking system, and for this time actually make it a ranking system that isn't broken like the last one, and make it something that works. Another thing that I would advise for the developers to keep their game running and to also keep it alive is to bring in a competitive scene. Actively organize monthly or even bi-weekly tournaments where people who are looking to get into a competitive game can actively see a future in Evolve having its own competitive scene. Right now, there are a few tournaments that people can play, organized by community members, but the company itself, Turtle Rock, need to come out and need to organize some tournaments to generate some hype for the game. The reason that so many people log in to CSGO or League of Legends or Dota every single day, or even Overwatch or Hearthstone, is the dream of becoming a higher rank. Not everyone, but a lot of people log into these games every single day to get themselves out of silver, to get themselves into platinum or diamond and becoming a higher ranked player. And some people even play these games every day with the dream of playing them competitively against other people. If that dream isn't there with Evolve, if the vision of playing the game at a higher level of play and playing it significantly, then a good portion of the players will not see a point in investing time in it. So Turtle Rock needs to show that there is a profit and reward with playing the game up into the thousands of hours, learning everything and going competitive against other teams and against other people. My final piece of advice to the Turtle Rock developers would be to reach out to people who can tangibly bring more attention to your game. By this, I mean approach bigger streamers. Approach streamers who are in the thousands of viewers or even in the several hundred amount of viewers. Approach quality content creators, those who are invested in Evolve and those who are not. And do the same thing that so many successful games have done, which is to organize a tournament between bigger streamers. Firstly, I think with me as a viewer on Twitch, I am biased here, but firstly, I'd love to see that. Secondly, as a streamer on Twitch, the kind of thing that would get someone like me incentivized to go in and actually support something like this would be giveaways. Invite streamers to come and play the game or come and get involved with the tournament and give them things to give away to their community, whether it be digital or things that they actually have to deliver. It'll bring much more attention to the game and the fact that Evolve Stage 2 is a thing on a daily basis. Even after a month and a half of Evolve Stage 2 being a thing, I had people asking me, how much is this game on PC? And I didn't know this game was free. So the best way to show a gaming community that the game is free and available to play again is to contact the people who run the communities, which are streamers. Get the directory nice and high up on Twitch again and show people that your game is not only worth playing again, but it's also got a player base, an actively growing one that people can become a part of. Because I have played the game for 3.5 weeks, and trust me, the balancing gets better every single time an update comes through. The only thing at the moment that is stopping me from playing the game is the worry that the game will end up as dead as it was before, and I hope that if someone from Turtle Rock is watching this, I hope that you can stop that from happening. But to you, the viewers, and anyone watching this video, do give it a second chance. The game is going in the right direction, and if they make the right changes, it can continue to go in the right direction and get themselves out of going into being in a dead game state again. But anyway, sorry if this video is a little bit ranty, and I'm sorry if I do sound like I'm being a little passionate throughout this video. Just this game, over the 3.5 weeks that I did play it on Twitch, was extremely enjoyable, and I did see a decline in the amount of people playing it, and I'd love for this company to be able to get some form of success from their hard work that they've put back into the game. It would be great to see. But anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, which I hope you have, please do leave a like, and if you are new around this channel, feel free to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video. See you next time.